we're going to move over and talk a bit about the Tommy Dreamer set of stories, because a lot has come out regarding Tommy Dreamer over these last couple of days since his removal from TNA's creative staff. There have been several allegations from talent on the independent level regarding their treatment at the hands of Dreamer. One being independent referee Dan Perch, who had stated that he was working at a TNA show, and he was pulled aside by Tommy Dreamer and told that he would do everything he could to make sure that Perch would not earn a job in the wrestling business. He said, "All I did was try to learn and grow from experiences," though his words were very discouraging for a young student to hear. "I didn't set out to prove him wrong. I simply thanked him for his advice and went another direction. The pro wrestling business is for everybody. You just have to find where you fit in best. Don't perform just for someone else's vision. Perform out of your own passion. Take critique like a professional and thank them for their time. However, don't allow someone to coerce you. Share your burning desire to succeed in the business with others who appreciate you." Then there were a pair of accusations by female talent, Kennedy Copeland, who said, "If we're sharing Tommy Dreamer stories, there was one time I told him I really wanted to take a cane shot in a match, and he told me he doesn't do that with women. So instead, we did a spanking spot. And when asked why she went ahead and did that, she said, because I was young and dumb and impressionable and a people pleaser and still very new in wrestling and didn't know I could say no, especially to a veteran, because I was always told if you really want it, you do anything for it." Then Danny Jordan wrote that, "I'd been waiting for this. One time, Tommy Dreamer insisted on doing a crotch grab spot to me in a tag match he was a fill-in for. This had no place in our storyline, but he didn't care to ask. I did not want to do this. I said how uncomfortable I was, but I'm just a woman, right?" And then the final one was from Carly Bravo of AEW, who said that Dreamer once told him that Bravo was very talented, but he couldn't hire him because he didn't know if he could market, quote, "cocky black guy" to the world. So it's a range of accusations levied against Dreamer. I think it's fair, though, that Dreamer has not had any response to these as of yet. I don't know if he's going to address this on his Busted Open show at some point. I don't believe he was on their show today, so he has not addressed any of these. I think it's fair that he has allowed his side of these very different accusations that come against him. But coupled together, this obviously has painted Tommy Dreamer in a certain position that people are, they are pulling up older clips of him. There was a seminar he did years and years ago where he is describing to a female trainee of just the hardships that she is going to face in the industry, and that he's not saying that women are basically sex objects, but he is very much describing an industry at that time that is sort of the thinking from somebody that worked in talent relations in WWE. And I think it is very easy to, today is probably not the day that too many people are coming to defend Tommy Dreamer. But I think each one of these situations can be discussed. There is the one in the case of Danny Jordan, where I think the key is that not only does she say she did not want to do this crotch spot, but she said how uncomfortable she was. To me, if someone is vocalizing that they are uncomfortable with something, you as the veteran, you as that's it. It's cases dropped, and that should be it. It's a little tougher on the Kennedy Copeland one, where she is stating she was uncomfortable about this, but she does not describe here, saying she was uncomfortable with it. And this is something that I think it's a difficult situation to have, because we see lots of spots that are from another era or just sexualized spots in pro wrestling. And someone is going to be pitching that. And I'm sure that there are many times talent go into many shows where, whether it's taking a certain bump, whether it's doing a certain spot that they may be uncomfortable with, but does the person that's pitching it know that? I just think it's very difficult when you and I are not in the middle of the match being put together here. I think we can all look at these, granted, these spanking spots and, the babyface kissing the woman against her will. Those have largely gone by the wayside. They're not completely out of wrestling, but these are a thing from the past, but they are spots, and fans do, they look at these spots and they don't think anything. Most fans don't think twice when they see these spots. But I think there is like this conversation about when you are putting this together, and especially younger talent that are constantly going to be worried about, giving the wrong impression to a veteran or putting themselves in an unfavorable light and voicing their concern if they do not want to go ahead with something, and how they go about that when it's not like we have intimacy coordinators at independent shows, and it's either you just go ahead with it, and that's what most do, or you speak up, and that doesn't always happen, and it rarely does.
Yeah, I think it's kind of tricky. I think we could say whatever we would idealize, these situations to be, but in the moment, if you are, this wrestler at whatever age she was at, being tasked to like fulfill this role, I mean, who knows what any of us would do in a similar situation? Like for somebody like a Tommy Dreamer, maybe one of the, I don't know, unfortunate things that's sort of attached to him is the fact that like he is an ECW nostalgia act. That is why an independent wrestling show would book him. And that means a lot of ECW late 90s level of, like spots like these, that I think at that time.
Sexualized spots that, in his mind, he's probably thinking this is an easy pop, and it's
like, what I'm known for. Like, I've done this. Like, this is what he might even think audiences come to these shows expecting spots like these, because I used to do it with Francine and Beulah, et cetera, et cetera. But it's really unfortunate that in the moment like this, which we were seeing a photo of, that this person was feeling really uncomfortable with this particular spot. And again, I don't exactly know what the answer is about policing it, other than just awareness like this, where we could discuss, and maybe just as a community, especially if you're an independent wrestler who's also involved in a match like this, certainly a promoter, certainly if you're members of the audience that's kind of watching all this stuff, maybe we are starting to grow a greater distaste for this sort of thing. And as a community, we could just like completely shun it the way we shun many other spots these days.
Yeah, I just think it's a difficult one, and I understand. It's like 95% of people are just going to be just like, it's just really easy to make this black and white. But I think you can have like a discussion about this, like in a particular spot like this, where it's something like where you are doing a spot like this, like maybe the veteran just saying, "Are you comfortable with this?" is as simple as you can do it, or at least creating the sort of environment where the talent does feel an ability to say no to things. I think that's a bit idealized, that is not going to always be the case, especially when it is going to be a rookie with a veteran. I know it's like maybe the worst person to bring up for a lot of reasons, but like let's go pre-speaking out, and you knew if you were booked in a match with Joey Ryan, you were going to have to do the penis plex. And did you want to do that? But it was a part of the Joey Ryan match. Like there are certain performers where it's like, yeah, there are going to be sexualized spots, like as overt as a Joey Ryan, as like, dude, the stink face with Rikishi. Like it was just, we have heard tons of stories of like women in WWE who after the fact, like Tori Wilson, was mortified about having to do all those bikini contests and there's kids in the crowd, but you go ahead with it. And it's always going to be that certain concern of, if I say no to something, of, there's going to be heat on me, or I'm not going to be utilized, or I'm putting a target on my role in the company. That's going to exist on the independent level too. If you're working with somebody that might have sway with another company, like I don't think you're just going to snap your fingers and that goes away. It's also like, I also can see someone being totally oblivious to just proposing a spot, and the person goes ahead with it, and it's like that person is none the wiser that person is necessarily uncomfortable with it unless they verbalize it to them. So it's not an easy answer here, and I don't think it's as easy as, hey, the independent promoter is going to play the go-between here. Like that's not going to be realistic either when you're talking about a big star that's booked on your show to come in and anyway, it's like some of this stuff, like, you know, what's alleged here that he said to this guy, Dan Perch, like, again, you would want to hear what is Dreamer's side of this story, or with the Carly Bravo one, where we are not talking about, physical spots, but rather just somebody here that, depending on when this occurred, like this guy was in at least a position of influence at TNA, you can assume, when these conversations happened. I mean, the one with Dan Perch, it was like at a TNA show as well. So, like, do you imagine Dreamer will address this? Because I think, like, there's this big focus on him the next time he's on Busted Open Radio. Like, I just don't know how, if you're busted open, you have to address this in some way. I don't think you can just ignore it. But I did not hear their show today, but I don't think he was on it today, and I don't think it ever came up.
I would think he would if he hasn't. Yeah, again, I'm not sure if he appeared or not, but I feel like we would have heard something by now if he did in the news cycle. So I imagine he would, just given the fact that, like, they are a show that discusses news, and he is a part of the news cycle, probably the biggest topic over this past weekend in professional wrestling, at least online. So I would imagine he would discuss it and address it. To what detail, I'm not sure. To what detail that would benefit him, I really don't know either, because it's, to me, the type of thing where I don't know if, like, defending yourself in any way would really make the situation better, you know. I don't know. I'm truly I'm not sure, but I mean, there's a lot of people that feel I think a certain way towards Tommy Dreamer, and it's
pro and con. Like, you have had his defenders that have come out that are very loyal to Dreamer, and others that clearly felt with this, with him being out of power, it was, these people wanted to get this off their chest of, like, not seeing this guy necessarily lionized with this exit from TNA as well. The month of June on the Post Wrestling Cafe is going to feature 2 editions of Rewind Away. Already in your feeds is a retrospective on the career of Manami Toyota, plus we are discussing WWE's WrestleMania 33 event from 2017, highlighted by the return of the Hardys, John Cena gets down on one knee, and Roman Reigns attempts to retire The Undertaker. Plus we have coverage this month of New Japan's Dominion card. It's an Ask Away mailbag show as we take all of your questions. I will be sitting down to chat about UFC Freedom 250 with Neil Flanagan, and so much more. All of that can be yours at postwrestlingcafe.com.